Hello everyone. So I was just about to do this video and instead it turned into, I don't even know how long. It was I'm calling it Kris's random thoughts. So if you watch that, I hope it explains a little bit more. But we're going to do this video right now. It was a request. We're going to break it into 4 14-minute videos. 14, 28, 42, 56. Okay. 4 14-minute 2-second videos if you want to get technical. This is the Abbasid Caliphate from Medieval History Documentary. I'm guessing this was the video requested because word for word it matched. If not, I apologize. This was also the longer video, so I thought maybe it would cover more. Let's find out though, and let go.
Arguably the greatest of Eurasia's early medieval empires, dwarfing the petty principalities and kingdoms of Western Europe, not just in size and military capabilities, but in its cultural and scientific achievements. This is a standalone documentary covering the first 100 years of this mighty empire. If you'd like to know more about the origins of this dynasty, you can check out this video I made earlier on the revolution which got the Abbasids into power.
Can I just say I love whenever I hear the word dynasty, because I say it dynasty. So whenever I hear the dynasty, something inside just makes me go, yay!
This is a full-length, hour-long documentary, so please allow a moment for me to thank the sponsor for this video, Raid Shadow Legends. Reminiscent of classic RPG titles from the 90s and...
By the way, somebody recommended that I get an ad blocker. Could somebody point me to a good ad blocker? I got one that was on my Firefox, and it shut down all ads. And I mean, when I would click on this video to play, that little thing would just circle. It would not play at all. It did more than block the ad. It actually blocked the entire video. When I would search something on Google, you know when you search something and then you scroll down and it's got like these little questions with that little down arrow and you can click on it and it expands and it will read out things. I don't know if you've ever done that. I do that pretty frequently. It wouldn't let me click on those to open up so I could read things. It literally shut down everything. My computers just like stopped wanting to work. And I set it up Wednesday night or Thursday night, and I don't record now until Saturday. My computer just turned to crap, and I didn't know what the problem was. I was redoing my my recording software. I was checking everything. I did not understand what it was, and so I just went through and disabled the ad blocker just to see. Up and running like a new car. So if anyone knows of a good ad, other than maybe I'll have to spring for the YouTube. I don't want to, because I don't want, I don't know. But if anyone has something that works for them, please let me know. Just name it in the comment section. That'd be great. And by the way, I try to respond. I don't know if anyone ever notices, you say something in a comment, I try to respond rather quick. I try to engage with everyone in the comments. Sometimes I just don't see comments for a day, so I do my best to try to keep up with it.
The Abbasid Caliph Al-Mustasim, spiritual head of the entire Islamic world, gazed out from the walls of Baghdad in the spring of 1257. Luxurious bathhouses, overflowing bazaars, and holy sites for all the Abrahamic religions arrayed before him. He could have been forgiven for assuming that the earthly and eternal...
Oh! Okay, that was when he ruled. That's not his lifespan. Because I'm like, how'd this dude rule? He was 16. the rule coming out of the womb, but that was the time frame. I gotta get my brain working. Okay.
The eternal power of his house would last forever, for he was the 37th Caliph of his dynasty, the spiritual successor to the Prophet Muhammad, and for tens of millions of Muslims from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, God's representative on earth. There had been hard times for his dynasty in the past, dark days many assumed they would never recover from, yet, nevertheless, against all the odds, they'd always come back from the brink. Such was the status that the caliphal title held. Now, in the mid-13th century, as the hooves of steppe warriors came thundering towards the great city, just as they had done so many times before, surely this time was no different. How wrong he was. Unfortunately for Al-Mustasim and the entire world he represented, everything was about to come crashing down, plunging Islam into the darkest period it had ever yet experienced.
Uh-oh.
A generation earlier, a terrifying flood of armoured horse nomads had come spilling out of the steppes of Inner Asia to enter the Islamic world on the shores of the Caspian Sea. The glittering Silk Road cities of Merv, Bukhara and Samarkand, metropolises populated by hundreds of thousands of people, many of them themselves descended from Central Asian pastoralists, were all flattened under the weight of the steppe riders' advance.
The steppe riders advance. Are we talking about the Mongols? Mongrels? Mongols? Mongrels? Mongols? How come neither one of those sounds right?
For these riders were led by the greatest warlord to ever arise on the Eurasian plains. This was the horde of Genghis Khan, and he led the Mongols to war.
It was a good guess.
But that had been in the past.
Oh.
By 1257, Genghis was long dead, and many observers assumed that, like similar emperors before him, in his absence, his state would quickly fall apart. How wrong they were. In the 1250s, Genghis's grandson, Hulagu Khan, had come crashing back into the Islamic world, annihilating the Hashashin of Iran and establishing his own state there.
That is really cool. That's in Iran? That is really cool. That's carved out of the rock, isn't it? That's amazing. And I mean, look, they even made designs at the top there. That is some intricate work. I mean, even to cut that down. There were some impressive human beings back in the day, wasn't there? Wow. I know this may seem like simple in a way, but like that is so cool. As simple's a bad way to phrase it. I guess maybe it's not. I'm thinking it's carved out of rock because of the rock here, but I'm guessing that might have. I don't know. Man, this kind of reminds me like the Great Wall of China in a way. I'm sorry. I'm in that. It reminds me of like the Great Wall of China, how it goes up. That's it. I mean, just look at the size of the person compared to it. That's so cool.
known in time as the Ilkhanate. And now, he was coming for Baghdad. In class,
I did a video of early Baghdad. That was so impressive. I went on and told several people, "Did you know?" And I was passing on, and they just looked at me like I was speaking Portuguese. They were like, I was like, "You gotta watch this video. It's so cool."
Mongol negotiating style, Hulagu acted like the Caliph should already have been his vassal, chastising him for not coming to his aid during the campaign in Iran. Of course, Al-Mustasim responded in kind. He would never cede the city founded by his ancestors to a barbarian, adding that if Hulagu continued on his path, Muslims from the shores of the Atlantic to the oceans of Asia would rise up to save him. Hulagu accepted the challenge. Summoning the full military might of his recently subjugated vassal states of Georgia and Armenia, Chinese siege experts drafted from the far side of the world, and a whole plethora of Turkic tribes, perhaps 100,000 fighting men, all in all. They went to war. Riding hard and fast towards the centre of the Islamic world, the Mongol war machine easily traversed over the riverways of Mesopotamia, utilising expertly designed pontoon bridges as they went. Just as had happened with Khwarezmia a generation earlier, tens of thousands of desperate refugees flocked towards Baghdad, filling the city to breaking point. The Caliphal army, vastly outnumbered, made a brave stand, but was scattered by Hulagu's men, who used the very landscape of Iraq against them, diverting the waters of the Tigris to flood their camp.
This is where that ad blocker would have been nice. But my ad blocker blocked the whole video. Probably would have only given me ads.
To flood their camp, and causing irreparable damage to the ancient dams of the region, vital for food production in the process. Upon reaching the city, still virtually unopposed, it was surrounded by a deep ditch. Lacking timber to make siege towers, Hulagu's men set about hacking down the carefully cultivated forests of date palms that had fed the region for thousands of years, in order for them to be turned into lethal missiles to be launched into Baghdad. Gunpowder, a terrifying new technology from China, was used to undermine the walls, instantaneously bursting into apocalyptic flame upon contact with the city and its unfortunate defenders. Next, engineers and sappers were brought in to dig directly under the walls. All this took place with barely any losses for Hulagu.
They call them sappers? I mean, we have those type of people that were up into the Civil War, but I think they called them all kinds of weird names, but like, I want to say groundhogs or something like that. They had a bunch of weird names. Sappers is new.
Who simply watched the carnage, waiting patiently for the walls to collapse. Rather than surrender, the Caliphal army made one final attempt to flee in order to fight another day. They were massacred by Hulagu's outriders. Within a matter of weeks, the walls came down and the massacre began. Showing no mercy to an enemy who had defied him, Hulagu ordered the city set aflame. Its Muslim inhabitants, anywhere between 200,000 and 1 million people, were killed en masse. In the ensuing carnage, perhaps one of the most brutal sackings in human history, not only were the tombs of the Abbasid caliphs desecrated, but the House of Wisdom, the greatest seat of learning the world had ever yet seen, and a vital link between ancient Athens and the European Renaissance, was burned to the ground, millions of irrecoverable pages lost. It was said that the rivers of the Tigris ran black with the ink spilled from destroyed manuscripts. Their irrecoverable pages eventually recycled into shoes. As for the Caliph, according to Armenian scholar Grigor of Akhanch, he was locked up for 3 days without food or water, before being brought out to examine the heaped gold and silver of his treasury. Hulagu allegedly ordered the Caliph to eat his treasures, scoffing in disgust when he could not do so. Al-Mustasim's alleged final fate was recorded in several later sources. As a last solitary gesture of respect for the Caliph, though perhaps he didn't quite see it the same way, he, along with all of his male heirs, were wrapped up in carpets and trampled to death under the hooves of the Khan's horses. For in Mongol society, the noblest death was one with no spilling of blood. A handful of family members did escape the carnage at Baghdad, heading to Cairo, where they were set up as religious figureheads by the Mamluk dynasty that held sway there, themselves descended from Turkic slave soldiers. Though the secular power of the Abbasids was now gone forever, Al-Mustasim's descendants would continue to rule in name alone for another 260 years. The fall of Baghdad ushered in one of the lowest ebbs ever faced by Islam, and for most historians, the end of its golden age, sometimes said to have lasted for an astonishing 500 years, during which time the Abbasids held sway over Baghdad as perennial masters. To get to the heart of this story, we have to go back to the very beginning, to the figures who founded Abbasid greatness, and to the city at the heart of it all, so entwined with the fate of the dynasty who first built it. We must go back 500 years to the mid-8th century. For those of you who want to learn more about the Mongols and what happened after the fall of Baghdad, then once you finish this video, head on over to History March, where there is a fantastic new video on the Muslim response at the Battle of Ain Jalut. It's an epic battle where the Mamluks of Egypt, no doubt spurred on by their new Abbasid guests, rode out into what must have seemed like a hopeless last stand against the Mongol war machine.
That's where
the link to their video is...
I became a fan of... is it Baibars? I already forgot how to say his last name. And I became a fan of the guy. I didn't like that he killed... Kutuz. I know I butchered that. I didn't like that, but I understood it because of the life that this man led, coming from a slave, like, you know, to being a ruler. You come all that way and you got one man that's just blocking you. Yeah, we may have just won a battle together, but I want to break these chains metaphorically, and I want to rule.
In the description, so I highly recommend you add that to your watch list. And subscribe to their channel for all sorts of other amazing historical content. In the year 762, a caravan arrived at the very centre of modern-day Iraq, a meeting point on the fertile plains between the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. Cities had existed here for thousands of years, as long as cities had existed. Their sand-scorched remains could still be seen dotting the landscape. And now those men, the foremost leaders of the Islamic Caliphate, a state stretching from the Atlantic to the Hindu Kush, would found a new city at the very centre of it all, the greatest the world had ever seen. The leader of those men was known to his friends as Abu Ja'far Abdallah ibn Muhammad, though more recently he had adopted the caliphal title, Al-Mansur. He wasn't the first caliph, his older brother As-Sufar holding that title, though, quite rightly, Al-Mansur is generally regarded as the founder of Abbasid greatness.
His brother had the nickname the Bloodshedder. No explanation needed for what that guy did.
And now, after 12 years of transitory existence, following his family's overthrow of the old Umayyad regime, those men would found a new imperial capital, situated at the very centre of the elaborate system of canals and waterways that crisscrossed central Mesopotamia. Like cities in Europe during the Industrial Revolution, craftsmen and merchants from all corners of the realm and all walks of life flocked to make their fortunes in the new boomtown.
People are flocking to make their fortune in the new boomtown. And that's where we're going to end it. Part 1. This will be a 4-parter. Sorry, I keep looking out of my phone because it just keeps going ding 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 ding. Some jingle bells. Okay, if you'd like to donate, I got a thanks on the screen. It's that way. It's like somewhere down there. You can donate if you want to. If not, no harm, no foul. I'll continue to make videos. Every bit helps, encourages me to keep going. But if I'm not good enough, I get it. And like and subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. That does help. And recommend the video to friends. Right? Go out, kidnap a bunch of your family and friends. Right? Throw them into a room. And then make all of them bring their own devices and then get on my channel and start watching my videos. And then once they've been binge watched, like, I'd say like at least 700 of the videos. Not all of them, don't be rude, but at least 700 plus. I think there's like 767 or 770 videos up. Make them at least do 750. Not all of them though. You know, give them a break. And then make them donate to every video they watched. They're just looking at you. I'm gonna go bankrupt if you just keep watching. Okay. All right. Don't do that. At least, you know, don't have a gun. A stick is fine. So until next time, have a good day, have a good night.